Hello guys, my name is Zach and I wanted to review this Tefal or Tefal, I've heard it both ways, 3.5 liter deep fryer. And I feel like I'm qualified to do this, unlike most people, in that this isn't the first time I've used this fryer. In fact, I've used 8 of these fryers over 9 years, almost every single week. And the reason I did that is because I was starting a business and I wanted to teach people how to create incredible restaurant quality chicken wings from home for a fraction of the price. In order to do that, I needed to come up with both a process and a product that could help people do that consistently. And after starting with your standard single bowl fryer many, many years ago, it quickly became apparent that I needed to come up with a better fryer where I could reuse the oil. It was easier to clean amongst being very consistent and easy to use every single time. Thus the reason I'm going to finally do a review on this Tefal fryer. But again, I've gone through 8 of these fryers. I still have 5 of them. Many are, some of them are 7 years old. I've had 2 of them die on me. We'll get into that later. And the rest I just use or have given away to friends and family to do, as I'm going to show at the very end of this video, exactly how to make the chicken wings that I was determined to make and save a lot of money. So let's get into the fryer. Again, I have so many uses on these fryers that it's just insane. I literally have made 18,000 chicken wings in the 8 fryers that I've had over the years. That's no exaggeration. I make them every single week. So I'm gonna go through the pros and cons of the fryer itself, and then I'm gonna, at the end of this video, show exactly how to make those wings using this fryer, which is the point of this video. If we're talking about a demonstration of a fryer, let's put it to use and put it to use in the best way possible, which is helping you save money and make awesome food. So let's start with the fryer itself. It's a 3.5 liter fryer. The numbers may not mean a whole lot to you, so let's put it into more of a perspective. The basket, which is roughly 3.5 to 4 inches tall and about 10 inches deep, you can't fill this completely with food and have everything expect to cook evenly. It just doesn't work. So realistically, you're going to fill about half the basket anytime you're going to cook. Inside of the oil bowl itself, which you'll see in the video following this particular review, there's a min and a max line, so you need to fill at least to the minimum in the oil marker. The max is the most you want to go. Even though you could go more and food wouldn't, the oil isn't going to bubble over. The drain pan, you don't want it to overfull, and it's measured to the max line on the bowl of the oil fryer. So stick to what they recommend for the min and the max for your oil levels. The thing completely comes apart, which is my favorite part of it to begin with. I literally make wings every single week. Nobody wants to clean. Cleaning is not fun. So the easiest way to do that is to have a product that can easily come apart and go in your dishwasher. So everything could go in your dishwasher except this heating element. This cannot. It's got electronics. You can't do it. But as I take everything apart, you'll see all the components as they come. So when you disassemble everything, you've got the lid, you've got the main oil pan. It has a straining filter inside of it. You've got your heating element with your temperature gauge that automatically, when it gets to that temperature, shuts itself off. You've got your drain pan with a lid and a pour spout. Now, you can leave oil in here when you're done draining, once you're done cooking if you want to. I generally will undo this spout, and then I use a funnel and I pour it back into a container that I've been using to save the oil. To me, I would rather clean this, so then once this is off and you've drained the oil, you can take the lid off, and then all this goes in your dishwasher as well. So it's super nice to clean. It snaps back into place. And I recommend when you first get these, wash it. Sometimes if you don't wash this thing, this lid doesn't seem to stay in place real well. And I've actually had one that was brand new. I used it, went to drain the oil, tipped it too far. The lid came off and it was not good, not pretty. It was my own fault for tipping it too far. I was a little in a hurry. Thankfully, I was not in the house when I did it. But yeah, wash the lid, wash everything first. It seems to stay in place a little better. And then when you do pour, if you're going to pour slowly. Don't put too much weight on the lid because it can pop off and it can make a huge mess. So the knob that is on the front of the fryer has 3 things. One is basically a release. It's literally called oil box, so you can take the oil box in and out without any issues. The middle setting is what you leave it on when you're going to fry your food. And then when you're done frying and you've turned the unit off, there is a drain setting. It's all the way to the right. If you have that on and you're like preheating the oil can literally drain out. So you just make sure you're in the fry position when you're going to fry. Now, if you flip this switch as soon as you're done cooking, and I know because I've done it a lot, it's a convenience thing. I don't want to forget later. So I'm done cooking, I've turned the power off, and I immediately flip it over. Now inside the bowl, there is a little mechanism that is designed to not allow the oil to drain when it's super hot. They say to wait about 2 to 3 hours before you flip that switch to guarantee that it's going to work and it's not going to be too hot. I've not had an issue with flipping it right away. The issue that I run into sometimes is if you flip it right away, that mechanism never seems to release, and sometimes it just will not drain the oil. The easy fix to that is to just flip it back and forth a couple times, and then it will drain. So if you flip it right away, it's not going to hurt anything, but it may not drain. Usually does, but sometimes it doesn't. So just keep that in mind. It will fully drain pretty quickly. But there's still going to be some oil at the bottom. If you let it go longer, I generally would just let it go overnight because it wasn't a big deal to me. By the morning, it seemed to have drained the most, and then you're only left with just some residue in the bottom of your pan that you can rinse out before you stick into the dishwasher. If you are kind of in a hurry and it looks like it's done draining, you're still going to have a decent pool of oil in here that could be used and salvaged. So I recommend just letting it drain longer than it looks like, oh, it's done. Yeah, you're still going to have some oil in here, and if the whole point is to save your oil and conserve, let it go longer than what you want it to do. When you think it's done, if there's still some oil in here, just let it go. It'll drain most of it later, and just leave a residue inside. So again, all these components are washable. The basket has a handle. These squeeze together, this goes right inside these little knobs, and then it snaps into place. I remember my dad got one of these and he's like, how do I make it stick? You literally just pull and it snaps into place. If yours is flopping, you pull it. And to clean it or take it off, pull it off. Now, when I wash mine, I generally leave it all on there. I will just fold it in, stick it on a rack in the dishwasher. You don't have to, you can take it off, but if you leave it all together, that's the way it goes. So our heating element, this is the one component that when it dies, your unit is worthless. Now, Tefal has not made it easy to replace parts. Let me rephrase that. They have made it easy to replace parts that generally aren't going to break. For example, your tub. You can easily buy a replacement tub, not a problem. You can easily get a basket with a handle, not a problem. Probably a lid, probably the pan. But again, those things don't break for the most part, unless maybe you drop the plastic, I don't know. This is the component that dies. And I've had 3 of them, 2 to 3 of them, I think 3 total, that died. So using them every single week, and this isn't exaggeration, I will use them, let's say, I'll give a couple of weeks throughout the year, so it's 52 weeks in a year. I am cooking wings at least 40 to 45 weeks out of the year, every weekend. And it's usually like 4 to 5 fryers at a time. I'll get to that later. But this is the unit that will die when it dies. Now, there is a button on the back. It's a reset button. If for some chance that pops out, none of them that I've had fail on me, pushing that button does anything. So at that point, the only option is to replace the entire unit. So this is a shout out to anybody who's going to buy one of these on Amazon. Buy their 4-year warranty if you plan on using the fryer a lot. It's just way cheaper than replacing the entire unit, because if your heating element, which is the whole component of frying, if it dies, you can't replace it. I've tried, you can't do it. Up until recently, trying to find just a simple replacement power cord was almost impossible. I spent a long time 2 years ago for Christmas trying to replace the one that my mother-in-law had because they lost it when they moved. They now sell them on Amazon, which I just saw the other day. I looked to see what could be purchased now. Power cords can be purchased, but look at this. So this long one was from one of these exact fryers about 3 years ago. This is the new one. So they've shortened the cord by about 10 inches. It's not a huge deal, But it kind of does make a difference if your outlet is on your kitchen island. It's not always super convenient to have a super short cord. It just won't fit. So keep that in mind. The newer ones come with a, what is that, 18 inches maybe? Whereas the old ones look like they were closer to 28 to 30. So just a note, but you can buy replacements now if you lose it, but I've never had one fail. They don't fail. And they snap on, they're a safety. They just, they're magnetic. So they're designed to break away. So if a kid or somebody hits the thing, it's not gonna pull your whole pot onto the floor. Again, these are indoor fryers. I'm outside because it's a beautiful day and it's just easier than dealing with lighting inside, but these are indoor fryers. So as long as you're going to cook under a roof, I would say it that way. Their little design, their little diagram has somebody out on a picnic table outside, obvious reasons with rain and electrical issues and long extension cords, obvious things. But if you do them in your garage or you do them under a covered patio, I do because I don't want my house smelling like oil. And after you've reused oil 10 times, which you can do with this, by the way, reuse oil multiple times, you have to add a little more. You end up getting more of a stronger stench with the oil that just starts to stink your house up. So I recommend frying outside under a covered patio or whatever you've got. That leads me to my next point. These are 1700 watt fryers. That means it's just under 15 amps, so 14 amps. You need to do one fryer per circuit. Now, for people that don't know, a circuit is not an outlet. You're going to have multiple outlets on a single circuit. So around your kitchen island, for example, you could have 3 outlets, but they're all tied to the same circuit. If you plug a fryer into 2 of those 3 outlets, you're going to immediately pop the breaker at your electric panel, and then you don't know necessarily when it died. It's going to be quick because it just draws too much power. But if you're trying to cook like I do 2 in a specific time based on this fryer, it's a total pain. So if you are going to have multiple fryers, which again, I've done 5 fryers at a time, you have to make sure they're all on separate circuits, which can be a pain. When I built this house, I intentionally had multiple dedicated circuits put in because I knew what I was going to be doing. So they are extremely reliable. They just work. So it's so great. You put the oil in them up to the max line. You set the temperature dial. I will show you in the video later on how to make wings. Just set it full max. Kick the power on. As soon as you kick the power on, the red power light comes on up on top of the heating element. That red light will stay on until the temperature is reached. As soon as the temperature is reached, it makes a slight clicking sound and that light turns off. Now, as long as you only have one fryer on the circuit, that light turning off means you're good to go and start cooking food. If you have multiple fryers on a circuit, that light out means you don't have power, and don't do it. Fix your electrical issue first. So as it's cooking, the light's going to come back on when it needs to get to the temperature at which you're cooking at. I will show you that in the video later. But it will cycle on and off to keep that temperature up. Most likely once you put your food in, it's really not going to get back to that unless you don't have a whole lot of food, because it's going to immediately cool the temperature of the oil. It cannot maintain that. It will try to get back up there. And as long as you haven't overfilled it, it's going to eventually get you there. But just keep in mind that it doesn't just stay at the temperature you put it at. Like anything, it's going to drop a little bit, but it will build itself back up over time. So depending on how much food you put in here, it will take some time to cook the food thoroughly. If you just wanted a review of the fryer, there it was. These things are great. I've had a ton of them. They work, they're consistent, they're easy to clean, they're reliable. So much so that I was able to actually start a business, which I'll show you next on just how to make incredible restaurant quality chicken wings that are crispy and insanely good for way less than your overpriced wing establishments that are out there. So I hope this review is helpful. Go ahead and hang tight. So this video is going to show you a very easy step-by-step process, and then afterwards we'll kick back for just a minute. All right, thanks guys. What I'm going to show you is down to the minute on how to cook perfect wings every time. All right, guys, on to the very first step. Cut open these packages, and the easiest way I found to do it is to start with the top, and I do one additional cut down the center to kind of fillet it open, just plop the wings out. Now that they're out of the packages, the next step is simply just to rinse them off. Now that we have the wings rinsed, we're going to move on to the next phase, which is soaking the wings in a salt water solution. We're going to take 24 wings and put them in the bowl. The next thing is to just add tap water to the bowl. We're just going to use enough water to cover the wings. You don't need to fill the whole bowl with water. We just need to cover the wings. Then the instructions on our wing mix bag have the amount, but we're going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of salt per 12 wings. So because we're doing 24, we're simply doubling that. Then we're going to throw a lid on them, and we're going to hopefully have room in our refrigerator to put them in. They need to soak for at least 2 hours. They can soak all day, they can soak overnight, they can soak for a very long time, but soak them for at least 2 hours. It's the prime time that we have found works. While your wings are soaking, we're going to get the next part ready, which is prepping the fryer to do the work. Inside of the fryer are the 2 markings. We want to fill to the max, but we don't want to go over the max. I leave the heating element inside when I fill it so that it's a more accurate measurement. You're going to set the dial to 374 degrees with the oil in the system. Then we're going to flip it on. Once the power is on, you're going to notice that you have a red light at the top of the fryer. That is an indication that there's power on. And once the light clicks off, that's go time for the wings. So while this is cooking, we're going to cut over to the wing prep side of things that have been soaking in salt water so we can get ready for the next phase. We have soaked the wings for 2 hours. This is when you grab our wing mix. This is an all-natural family recipe wing mix that gives you the crispy crunch on every bite of the wing. We're going to take a mixing bowl. The amounts are on the bag, but we're going to use a cup of wing mix per 24 wings. So we're going to take our wings that have been soaking for at least 2 hours in salt water, take a colander or a strainer, whatever you have, dump the wings into it to get the excess water off. Strain the excess water out. You want the wings wet. The water that was on the wings is all that the wing mix sticks to. There's no additional eggs, there's no additional steps. Once you're satisfied with the straining of the excess water, we're just going to pour them into the bowl. So I'm going to hand mix these just to get each one coated fully. If you have young kids that want to help, I encourage you, let them help. It can be a fun process. So we have our wings. They are battered up. We're going to pull the fryer basket out. We're going to stick it on a towel because there is some oil residue that's going to be on the fryer basket. It's submerged in the oil right now as it's heating up. And then we're going to stack the wings in there. We need to basically back and forth them to get them in. So I'm going to show you how I have done it forever. I generally start with the drummies because they're the bigger and they take up more space. So I generally start with the fat part of the drummie facing one direction on both sides. I start with all drummies. Then mix them up so the fat part faces the other side and cram them up against each other. You don't need to save space. It's going to be submerged in oil. It doesn't matter. They cook perfectly, but we've got to get 24 in here. So I'm going to do this all the way down. So there's 12. They take up a lot of it. So now what we're going to do is just pile in the flats to fill in the gaps. When you do the flats, it would seem that laying them flat 2 on each other would be the same height as laying one on its side. It does not. And what happens is as they cook, they expand a little bit and the one that's sitting on top does not get cooked as well. So lay them sideways and stack them up against each other. Trust me, I've tried the other way. It doesn't work. The light has turned off. So here's what we do. We drop the basket into the oil and you set a timer. This is extremely important. Set a timer. For 24 wings, we fry for 25 minutes. So we are at just about 10 minutes left on our timer. The good news is as this thing is frying, you do not need to babysit. Walk away, do whatever else you're doing if you guys are making additional food. Having said that, at around 10 minutes or so, I generally come take a look. I grab a little pair of metal tongs. All I'm doing is verifying that inside all of the flats are still under the oil. So you'll notice that this one is barely sticking out. It doesn't matter. Sometimes when they're fat, they start to rise up and you'll have 1 or 2 that actually kind of come out of the oil. They're still cooking. They're going to taste fine. But then at that 10-minute mark, I just use my tongs, I flip it over so that the other side is submerged in the oil and kind of rearrange as best I can to keep everything under the oil while it's cooking. So once you hit your 25 minutes, we're going to lift the basket out and set it on top of the little holder. Flip the power off. As you can see, these little guys are crispy. The final piece of the puzzle is to sauce the wing. Any sauce that you would like to do, you're going to use the same method to sauce them up. What we're going to do is take a stick of butter, around 1 teaspoon, put it in the measuring cup, and then we're going to stick it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. Pour that into your bowl. Once the butter is in there, we're going to take our sauce. About 2 ounces of sauce for 24 wings. We're going to start with that. If your sauce is runnier, you might use a little bit more. Some are thicker. So there's no exact amount, but we're going to start with this and just see once we start mixing how it looks. So we got the sauce done. We're ready to move back to the wings and get those ready. So what I like to do, because the wings are been crammed in that little basket, I'm going to dump them into a mixing bowl by themselves. So all I'm going to do right now is just kind of separate the wings. Some of the batter that was stuck in between one will peel off. Don't worry about it. It doesn't affect the flavor or the crunch for each one. So each one has been separated. I'm now going to pour them into the bowl with the sauce. There's no perfect way to mix wings, but this is how I do it. I shake it back and forth, I swirl it around, and then you start with the flipping. Now, I have done this so many times, it's going to look a little easier than it's going to feel when you do this. And yes, many wings have taken flight onto the ground, and I generally just eat them because I don't care. But for your sake and those who are eating your wings, maybe just be careful because they will want to shoot out of here. Sometimes it looks like you don't have near enough sauce in there, but if you'll continue to mix for just a little longer than you think you might have to, it will cover really well. So there it is, folks. They taste as good as they look, I promise. Hey guys, and welcome back. Hopefully you found that video informative and encouraging that making restaurant quality chicken wings from home is very possible and very easy with this fryer and the steps I show you in my video. I also just wanted to say that I have never been compensated from Tefal for these fryers. They never gave me a fryer, they never reached out to me. This was my honest opinion of a fryer that allowed me to create a very successful business teaching people how to make restaurant quality wings from home, but using this product. And I recommend the product because of the reasons that I gave you earlier. Mainly it's reliable, it's easy to clean, you can save the oil, and you can do up to 24 wings at a time, which for me was huge. So it's a very honest review. It was not a paid review. Hopefully this helps somebody. I appreciate your time. You guys have a great day.
All right, folks, here is the Tefal deep fat fryer with a ability to filter the oil. So this is after actually one session of deep fat frying Filipino lumpia for about a couple of hours. And as you can see, this unit is very easy to take apart. And what I plan on doing is I'm going to separate all the parts and see how easy and clean it can get. As you can see below, I have the box that catches the filtered oil. So also I'm gonna do probably another review later where I talk about the quality of the oil and how easy everything is. But then again, just wanted to show everybody what it looks like, how it comes apart, and how easy this unit is. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm about to drain the oil. This is my first cook, but I did read the manual and it said to wait 3 hours for the oil to cool down because the bottom part's plastic and I'm not a moron and I don't want to melt plastic with boiling hot oil. So here we go. Let's see. Let's get a little drain in there. It's kind of dirty. Made some shrimp. All right, let's go. Oh, yeah, there it is. Wasn't sure if anything was happening, but yeah, it's filling up. Not sure how long this will take, but oh, whatever. Seems to be working. Very nice.
So it automatically filters and stores the clean oil for future use. Easy oil cleanup in one step. Just turn the dial. This is for when you're frying. This is for when you want to clean the oil. After it filters, it automatically drains down into this tray, and then you can see it here. And then it's ready for future use. So when you're going to remove this box, because now this is empty, you put it back here and you remove it. It's actually really simple. The fries are coming out really good and I like it. Goodbye.
Wow, there's like no steam coming out, and I can see in the basket. Wow, this is a pretty cool fryer. And it has a timer, but I'm not going to use the timer. I guess I could just to see if it works. Okay.
Finally.
Got the reserve in the bottom, it's great.